Good afternoon, folks. My name's Sandy. This is Sawing with Sandy. Welcome back to the channel. As you can tell, it's a beautiful sunny day here, and I hit the road and I made my way down here to Farmer Equipment Sales. And Farmer Equipment Sales is sending two pieces of equipment with me, including this land plane and that landscape rake. This equipment is just some of the equipment they've got here, and I was very fortunate that Dave and Kevin, the two people who are behind Farmer Equipment Sales, invited me down here. What we have here is everything from snow blowers to land planes to landscape rakes. You can see spreaders. There's some chippers back there. Down that way I saw some box blades, and well, up that way we've got some forks, and I think I saw some rotary mowers, flail mowers, and everything in between. So I've got Kevin and Dave here. Kevin and Dave are the people behind the telephone. They're the people behind the website, and well, they're the people behind everything. So Kevin, Dave, thanks for having me. I just wanted to touch base on a few things with your operation here. Completely web-based. You've got all the details on your website, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right. Yep.
And you sell a whole bunch of stuff. In terms of quantity, how much do you have for inventory? It looks like an awful lot.
Yeah, probably at any given time we'd probably have 30, 40, 50 flail mowers, probably as many grapples as well in stock, pallet fork sets, and snow blowers, and spin spreaders, wood chippers. We probably have 100 of those in stock at any given time.
And it's just the two of you behind the operation, so
it is,
if
yeah.
I were to call in, I'm just talking to you,
if
Dave.
you were to call, live chat, email, it'll be me typically that responds to all that stuff. And if you have a problem with anything down the road, when you pick up the phone, you'll get the owner on the other end to solve your problems.
And one last question, in terms of ordering equipment, I basically jumped on the website when I was looking, so that's what everyone else does. They jump on the website, put the order in, order comes to you guys, you get it in stock. Well, it is in stock, so you get it packaged up.
Pick it out of the yard, package it up, however it needs to be packaged, and we ship it right across Canada.
I think that's one of the things that sort of brought me here to Farmer Equipment Sales. Because things were in stock, I started thinking, hey, I could order it today and I'm not going to have to wait forever to get it. Some of the other places I've talked to, you can order it, but the key word is order it. You don't know when you're getting it, and so that's what brought me here. And Kevin and Dave, thank you for having me, and I'm gonna just spend a little bit of time looking around here with these two guys, and then I'll be heading back to the highway. We'll get the equipment back, and in just a few minutes for you guys, you'll get a full rundown on the land plane as well as the landscape rake. Stay tuned. Well, folks, I made it back without issue. I got the landscape rake attached to my tractor, and as you can see, I think it looks pretty good there. This right here is a 7-foot wide model. This is made by MK Martin. This has a few different options on it that I'm going to try out here today. I've actually never used the landscape rake until this very moment, and so we're going to see how things go. Now, this model has a few options, as I said, one of which is the gauge wheels, and the other is this hydraulic cylinder. Now, I wanted especially the hydraulic cylinder because that's attached to the rear remotes of my tractor, so I can use the rear remote control handle and manipulate this left and right as I'm going down the trail. Kind of nice. You never know, you might want it squared to pull material, and then maybe you want it angled to sort of roll the material out the sides. So that's what I have it set up as currently. The gauge wheels, these are solid wheels at the back. As you can tell, they're quite large as well. They have these removable spacers, so you take this pin out and then you can adjust the spacing. So if you want these wheels to sit further down or higher up, that's going to allow you to do it, and that's going to allow you to control how deep these tines dig into the soil. Now, talking about the tines here, these spring tines are 1 inch wide. There's a number of them. Obviously, they cover the entire 7-foot span. If we have a look down here, you can see how they're attached, so they're bolted in. And if we look up there just for a moment, you're going to see there's another series of nuts that you can remove. In the event that you ever wanted to replace one of these, you absolutely could. Now, these gauge wheels, as I mentioned before, they're also an option, so you can buy this landscape rake without these. Obviously, you could buy it with it as well, and they just go on with some bolts there. In terms of adjustability, there are 5 holes here. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, those 5 holes are repeated on this side as well. And what that allows you to do is it allows you to have the landscape rake pulling debris, or you can rotate it all the way around 180 degrees using the other 5 holes, and then you can push material. So very handy that way. This hydraulic cylinder, it's got 2 pins here, one here and then one here. You can easily pull this pin out, rotate the rake so that's going the other direction, and then put the pin back in and use the same functionality side-to-side tilting in the opposite direction. And although I just removed the support stand a minute ago, just as I brought it out here, you guys see that little spot down there? There's a leg that goes down. That's removable, so when you're using the rake you can remove it, and when you're storing it you put the leg back, and that allows it to sit upright for the next time you need to hook to it. Just some other things you may not notice on this particular model because I have the hydraulic cylinder, but there is a pin that would go in that location, so you could pin it into all these individual holes and keep it in that position if you don't get the hydraulic cylinder option. Weight wise, I think we're floating right around 285 pounds for this unit. Now, I don't know if that includes the weight of the gauge wheels as well as the hydraulic cylinder, but 285 is a good ballpark for this setup. Other things I noticed right off the get-go, there's not a lot of moving parts, but the parts that do move, there's some spots you can grease, which is great. You can see them on the wheels there. And overall, I noticed as well 7-year consumer warranty, which is pretty outstanding. You never like to buy equipment and then can't count on it after a year or two. 7-year warranty, can't go wrong there. And one other thing I noticed about this is made in Ontario, Canada. It's not made all that far from farmer equipment sales, and so that's kind of nice that way. But anyways, let's get down to work here. We'll see how this works. As I said, I've never used one before. My main thinking for having one was to clean up debris. Now, if you have a look around, this is relatively clean right now. But sometimes this gets way out of hand. Wherever I'm cutting wood, splitting wood, it gets way out of hand. And as you can tell, you get a whole bunch of this debris. And although there's a variety of tools you can use to clean it up, I've tried using the bucket, but what ends up happening, you dig the bucket down and you get a dirt full as well, a scoop of dirt as well with the debris. So that doesn't work all that well, especially when it's off camber a little bit. I've also tried using the root rake. The root rake is okay. Put it in float mode on the loader, but the trouble with that is the tines are so far apart, or the whatever you call them, the teeth, whatever, they're so far apart a lot of the debris will fall through it, and so that doesn't work particularly well either. The landscape rake, I think, is going to be the ticket here. It's going to work just like a garden rake would work, obviously on a bigger scale. I'm going to go up here and I'm going to pull some of this material down, and I'm just going to pull it down here to see what type of pile we're dealing with, and then we'll have a look and see what it looks like afterwards. Then I'm going to take it over to the red pine forest. In the red pine forest, I have some other debris, branches and the tops of trees and things like that. We're going to take it out there and see how it works. So here we go. One thing you guys will notice, I have the wheels all the way up right now, so there's nothing that is preventing the tines from digging in as deep as it'll go. What I'm going to do after that first pass is just have a quick look, and I'm going to lower the wheels down just a little bit. I think maybe we'll go down, I don't know, maybe we'll go down 2 spacers and we'll just see what that looks like. But here was the first pass. Obviously it cleaned it real well, but it also took just a little bit of debris with the dirt, or a little bit of dirt with the debris. But overall, it's mostly the debris. So I'd say that's a good first start. ditches, and so I don't think we'll have to dig down very deep. Let's put a spacer in here. One of the things that these gauge wheels do is whenever your tractor goes up a little hill or something, or through a little ditch, if you're dragging the landscape rake has a tendency to follow into that ditch and it digs it out, whereas these wheels will prevent it from digging down into it. It'll allow it to put material into that ditch. At least that's the thinking. Alright guys, this is the area that you've seen me in before, a bit of a landing. I want to try to clean up all the little sticks and debris here. It ends up getting into everything. It gets caught in my log trailer or under the tractor, golf cart comes through here, ATV, whatever. The sticks jump up and get into it. So I want to pull it out of the way, maybe push it up that direction. So more or less I'm going to come through and drag it and see what happens. You'll notice there's a few high spots and low spots on the left here, so I anticipate that'll smooth that out. Once this debris is out of the way, I can more easily work in here and get this area cleaned up. Well guys, I'd say that worked really well. If you have a look down there, it cleaned things out of the way very easily. The angle feature made it nice to just sort of push some of the debris over instead of having to drag it all down there. I did drag a big bunch of it down there because that's an open area, but overall the landscape rake worked very well. Now there is going to be some learning for me. Got to figure out the gauge wheels, how to get the depth set properly. Also the top length, adjusting that is important as well. That's going to dictate how the tines impact the ground. So I'll get some experience under my belt and then I'll continue perfecting that. But I'd say from a first glance, that saved me a heck of a lot of time. Up until this point, what I often would do, besides giving up, is I'd have the root rake on. The root rake would be okay, but periodically it would dig in too deep And if it didn't dig in too deep, sometimes I would miss debris because it would go between the tines or the teeth, whatever you call it. Now the bucket, on the other hand, it took care of everything. But once again, it also took off that top layer of moss, and it took off some topsoil from time to time. And it didn't work too well at just removing the debris. So very happy with that landscape rake. With the number of trails I have around here and that function of tilting, swiveling side to side, I'm going to use that to push debris on all my trails just off to the side, and that'll allow me to just basically drive all the trails and keep her moving. So make sure you come back next time. I will be sure to be up to something with this. I want to try it eventually, even without the gauge wheels on it, just to see if there's much of a difference. I'll be sure to bring you guys along. So if you guys have one of these, or maybe you just know a little bit more about them than I do, please feel free to share down below in the comments. We're all learning out here, and I'm happy to hear from those of you who've had great experiences with them. Also, if you have experiences with the gauge wheels, let me know down below. In the meantime, if you like this video, give her the old like-a-roo. Make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you next time.